Welcome, family, to another powerful conversation here on what we're calling Seeds of the Nations, where we inspire, train, and mobilize believers to join God in His global mission. I'm thrilled to have a very special guest with us, Dr. Harvey Kwiyani. Let me stop right now. Doctor, how you prefer to be called? Dr. H, Dr. K?
Dr. Harvey is all right.
Harvey.
I'm used to that. Yeah. Sure.
So for those of you who do not know Dr. Harvey, he is a theologian, a missiologist, author, and a leading voice of African Christianity and diaspora mission. Dr. Harvey is originally from Malawi, and today he serves as one of the most influential voices in global missiology. He has taught in seminaries, led diaspora initiatives, written extensively on multicultural mission, and founded the widely read publication Global Witness, Globally Reimagine. His research focuses on African Christianity, cross-cultural discipleship, decolonizing mission, and the role of the diaspora believers in God's mission today. My brother helps the church see what the Holy Spirit is doing across continents and how we can participate with humility and joy. And we at Sowing Seeds of Joy have partnered with him. As a matter of fact, as we kick this off, Dr. Harvey, we had the pleasure of bringing you and inviting you to our Seed Leadership Summit, which was held last year, October 2024. So as we kick this off, I would like you to just reflect on your experience at that event.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm always delighted to have these conversations with you. Pastor Ron, you and Pastor Star have become sort of dear brother, dear sister of mine along this journey. I'm always looking forward. Last October, the summit in Dallas, Texas, it was a great joy to me for several reasons. Actually, the first one was I've been involved in the work around missions for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first time that I found myself in a space that was shaped primarily by African Americans for an African American conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found it very, very encouraging to see that actually, when we talk about mission, we're not just talking about Europeans or white Americans, that the Black part of the American church is also getting deeply involved in mission around the world. I come from Malawi. I know quite well that we've had quite a good number of African American missionaries come to work in Malawi and come to work in that part of the world. So it was really exciting to come and be part of this conversation in Dallas, Texas, to make the connections between what we have seen African Americans do in Malawi and actually what African Americans are talking about in the United States. I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you for inviting me.
We certainly enjoyed you. Matter of fact, the comments and from our surveys, they really enjoyed you too. Well, Dr. Harvey, before we talk theology and missions,
yes, sure.
Would you share your journey with us? What shaped your heart and for global mission and multicultural Christianity?
Yes, I think the best place to start is to say and declare something that I've said many times now, that where I was born in Malawi was the first British mission station in Central Africa. In Central Africa, let me say that. And this is a place where David Livingstone himself, the most famous missionary of the 19th century,
Okay.
brought a group of missionaries working for what was called the Universitas Mission to Central Africa. He brought them to this place called Magomero in 1861, and they ran that mission station for a good 2-3 years, and then they left. But my family, my great grandparents were already in the area. So 100 years later, I was born at Magomero. I was born into the story of mission. My community, my people are so proud that they were the first people to receive the gospel.
Wow.
In that part of Africa.
Wow.
So I grew up hearing the story of mission all the time. It's the story of my community. It's the story of my people. It's the story of my family. I knew that I'd be involved in mission at a very young age. I didn't know how. I knew that it would be out of Malawi. I knew that it would be in the West, but I didn't know where. I didn't know how. And over the years, just God led me from one place to another up until I found myself at one point in time working in Switzerland.
In Switzerland, okay.
Yeah, so I worked in Switzerland, then I crossed over and worked in Germany for a little, and then I moved to Austria for a bit, and really felt like, this is what I was made to do. I'm enjoying this, and I decided to come to the UK to study. So I came to the UK and did a master's in missions. And right after the master's, like I graduated this week, and the following week I was in Minnesota studying a PhD, no break at all.
Okay.
So I lived in Minnesota for a good 6-7 years, in which time I actually planted a vineyard church.
In Minnesota?
In Minnesota, yes.
How did you put up with the cold, brother?
Oh, Minnesota, it feels like it's not in this world, especially in the winters. It can be cold.
Yes.
It can be cold. But I survived 7 of those winters, and then after that, decided to come back to the UK to continue with the work that I was doing, especially around migrant churches in the UK, but now with a wider focus to continue to work with migrant churches in Europe. I still come to the US once in a while to around these issues of migration and migrant Christians, but my focus has been in the UK and in Europe for the past almost 15 years.
Now, you just returned from the US. You did a presentation not too long ago in Houston, correct?
Yes, I was in Houston in September.
Yes. And who invited you, if I may ask?
In Houston, I came to work with a group called Diaspora Network. This is a group, an organization led by Jonathan Kindberg, and now with Cindy Wu. They're both in Houston, and they work to catalyze diaspora churches in the US for mission.
Did you notice were you received, or were there African American churches involved in that audience?
Yes. There are quite a few African
American
churches.
Well, let me ask you.
And I had a chance to launch a book at one of the churches in Houston as well. I did a launch for Decolonizing Mission.
And what's the name of that book?
Decolonizing Mission.
That's right. Decolonizing Mission. Excellent.
That's right.
Well, let me pose this question to you.
Sure.
So, again, you've written extensively about shifting the shifting center of Christianity from the West to the global South. What does the church need to understand about this transformation?
It changes everything. It changes everything about how we understand Christianity. But actually, that change is a good thing. It's a change that fulfills what Christ came for. I do argue that yes, Christ started with a group of Galileans around the Sea of Galilee, and he worked with them for 3.5 years. But the goal was eventually to have followers in every nation, tribe, and tongue around the world, right? And so over the past 50 or 70 years, we have seen actually that come true. That now, as we speak today, there are Christians in almost every country. There are Christians in every country in the world. Now, what that means is if we go back 100 years, an average Christian would be a white European, probably a white American, or somebody white.
Mm-hmm.
Today, a typical Christian will definitely be a black woman, probably an Asian woman, or actually somebody from a different part of the world, not from the West at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means the face of Christianity itself has changed.
Mm-hmm.
It changes the language of Christianity. Which, of course, for a long time was Latin. Over the 20th century, it became English. Now, of course, we know that there are now more Spanish-speaking Christians than English-speaking Christians in the world. But now there are many Yoruba-speaking Christians in the world. There are just as many Mandarin-speaking Christians in the world. And the language of Christianity itself has also shifted. It has changed. This should help us actually begin to learn more about God from what gifts God has given to other people and other cultures around the world. So it really enriches the body of Christ. The fact that now there are numerous cultures, numerous languages, numerous thought systems, numerous philosophies informing the way we understand God.
So that being said, why should this shift matter for the American church?
It should matter. On the one hand, and again, for several reasons. The first reason is that we know here in Europe is very clear. In the United States, mostly among Catholics, it's also clear that world Christianity is beginning to shape Western Christianity. Global South Christians are beginning to shape Christianity in the West. Here in the UK today, a typical on a typical Sunday in London, a majority of people who go to church are black.
Say that.
Actually,
say that.
In London, a city of around maybe 10 million people, on any given Sunday, any Sunday of the year, at least 60% of people who attend church are black.
Wow.
African or African Caribbean.
Wow. Yes.
And black people form only 14% of London's population. 14. Right? So 14% of the city's population is accounting for 60% of church attendance. That is massive.
That's interesting. Yes. Wow.
Right. So there is that. Here in the UK, we say quite often that London Christianity is becoming black. And actually, that London Christianity is being shaped by events taking place in Accra, or in Lagos, or in Nairobi, or in Kinshasa. Things happening in Africa are shaping Christianity in London.
Yes. Before I forget, and we're going to go there because there's a book I want you to comment on that to bring to hold up. I know you have it there on your shelf. From Africa to the rest.
To the rest.
So
All right. Okay.
we gonna go
We'll
there.
talk about that. Yes.
You also
So
go ahead.
Mhm.
Continue. Go ahead.
So there is this reality that actually Christianity when you here in the UK, when we talk about British Christianity today, we must include in that image the many Nigerians and the many Ghanaians and the many Chinese and the many South Koreans and all these people they form the picture of what the church should look like in Britain today. And I think it's the same in the United States. That when we talk about US Christianity, it reflects the colors of the world.
Yeah. Let's talk about the gifts, not only the colors, the gifts. And
Sure.
you often say Africa brings unique spiritual gifts to global Christianity. So what are some of those gifts, and why does the world need them now?
Yeah, good one. Africans culturally tend to be a bit more sensitive to spirituality, spiritual beings, spirits. Let me put it that way. I remember growing up in Malawi. One of the things that that's drummed into our minds as kids is the fact that the spirit world is more real than the material world. It's invisible, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yes.
Spirit beings are real and they affect human life in a tangible manner. And I think it's that understanding, that sensitivity, that language that allows you to talk about spirits in that way that African Christians bring to the table in terms of what Christianity. I should mention that actually, in most cases, we realize that the language of African Christians, especially in connection to the spirit world, spirit beings, really reflects the language that we see in the Bible. That actually the African worldview, the African cosmology, that helps us understand that there are all these things in the universe, is closer to the Bible than the European worldview. An African reading the Gospels and seeing the acts that Jesus is doing will find them to be just like a part of how they live their lives. The miracles, the healings, it's normal. This is how we live our lives. We don't have issues. We don't really do what many Europeans do, which is basically demythologize the Bible and try and make it scientific sense and explain all these miracles in ways that make sense to science. For Africans, the fact that Jesus is casting out devils, yes, Jesus is just casting out devils. It's normal, and we see this all the time.
Yeah. Wow. So, as a matter of fact, when we talk about spiritual, I had the pleasure of sitting under the leadership and working under the leadership of Dr. Tony Evans here in the U.S. You're familiar with Dr. Evans? Well, he often would say, we are spiritual beings who are having a human experience. So why not connect to, look at spiritual things, And it wasn't until my wife and I started traveling quite extensively to the continent of Africa and several countries and other countries too, that we got more connected spiritually and started seeing some of that was happening from a spiritual standpoint. Let me ask this question: How do you think African Americans, believers, reconnect to the spiritual heritage? How do you think we can do that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we need to wrestle with as Black people in the world is this gap between African Americans, African Caribbeans, and the African continent. I do hope that, maybe not in our generation, but I do hope that sometime soon we will find ways to reconnect. This is critical. It's important for for all of us. It's important for African Americans. It's important for African Brazilians, African West Indians. It's important for the African continent. We need to reconnect. Now, having said that, the spiritual heritage that shapes African Americans, African Caribbeans, is still very much located in the African continent.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge for us is, can we actually get together, work together, and be intentional about reclaiming that heritage? Because we cannot really be who we really are without that heritage.
Mm.
All of us. So it's reconnecting, it's building the bridges between North America and Africa, and the way African Christianity works, and this, when I teach my classes, I say this is part of what we need to work on as African Christians, is that we are very oral people.
Or, okay.
We tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
We talk. Very few people will sit down and write their experiences and write their stories in ways that can be passed on from generation to generation and be moved from Africa to other parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even though we are an oral people, we have gifts, we have resources that we see that our brothers and sisters who have been disconnected from us through the 500 years of slave trade, those brothers and sisters need some of the resources that we have in the continent. So how do we build bridges so we can reconnect and share these resources so we can all be healed?
Yes. As you were speaking there are many times I'm reflecting on the times that Star and I were journeying. We've been to Nigeria. We've been to, of course, Nairobi, Kenya. We've been to Cape Town, South Africa, Johannesburg. The point I want to make is that there was always this feeling of connecting when we arrive on the continent. And I've heard those that we've taken and had the pleasure of taking to expose them to what God is doing around the world. And they step foot on the continent. They have this feel at home.
It is home.
Yeah, it's at home. We have one young lady who is working now, desperately working now to make her way back. I said make her way back because she's had the opportunity to go there on several occasions to South Africa. She just led a team last year to Zimbabwe. She wants so much to just go back, and she says, I feel at home. I feel at home. That reconnection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me follow that up with this question. Where have you personally seen African spirituality impact global missions?
Oh, that's a good question. In the continent, in Africa itself, there's an awareness that God is preparing and sending young Africans around the world for the sake of the gospel. So, I mean, I grew up in Malawi. I grew up at a time when there was a massive revival in Malawi as a whole. A massive revival, as in really the presence of the Spirit of God enveloping communities, enveloping villages. Where I grew up, I think in the years between 95 and 98, we went through a season where almost every day, every afternoon, you hear people praying in tongues in their houses.
Really?
and they're praying for global mission. They're praying for all these things. It was just normal. It's just the presence of God enveloping the village. It'd be like, oh, that one has started. Oh, that one has started. That one has started. And they'll go on for 2-3 hours every day, right? For a season, for a good number of months, almost
So
3 years, as I said.
you're saying, Dr. Harvey, I'm picturing myself on the streets of Malawi.
Yes.
And in the afternoon, in the evening,
Yes.
their families, their individuals, they're, in their individual homes, and they're praying for
Loudly,
global.
fervently.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's real.
And so that results in, of course, a generation of young people who will know how to pray, will have some experience in the ministry. Some of them will have been to school, will have university degrees, and it felt like God is incubating these young people, right, for a time when He can disperse them around the world.
Wow.
When I was in university in Malawi, I did my first degree was in mathematics, University of Malawi. I worked with a group of young people, university students, maybe 12, 15, 20 of us. We formed a prayer group that went on for a good 3 years. Of that whole prayer group, maybe at the moment it's only 2 or 3 people remaining in Malawi. The rest of us have been scattered.
Yeah.
Talk about Australia, talk about Germany, talk about the US, here in the UK, and that's just a small portion of what work is doing. The Nigerian young people that I meet here in Europe, it almost feels like God. You know how some people have called Africa the dark continent. And I feel like at this point in time, God has been hiding something in the dark continent that's coming out to bring light to the whole world.
Yeah.
So for example, the Nigerian church, the Redeemed Christian Church of God, started in 1952. Today it's present in every country in the world. A denomination that's 70 years old has presence in every country in the world. All that really because of the dispersion of the Nigerian church.
Wow.
The way people were dispersed from Jerusalem in Acts 11, God is dispersing African Christians today in large numbers. And so people are taking their Bibles and taking their faith, they're taking their prayer lives, they're taking their testimonies as far and wide as possible.
That's good stuff. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Let me. You speak boldly. Let me share this. You speak boldly about mission without racism.
Yes.
And that need to decolonize the gospel.
Yes.
How do you explain this concept to those who may not understand it?
Yeah. The word mission itself, the word mission, when we go back to its Latin origin, missio, was used greatly for the sending of soldiers. It's a military term that was adopted by the Jesuits in the 1540s to sort of replace what was meant by the word apostle, apostole in Greek, the sending of people to share good news. It's almost the same, sending, but now you've taken a term that's used to talk about sending of soldiers to start talking about sending of Christians to go and convert others. The baggage of sending soldiers comes onto this now idea of sending Christians, and so sending Christians to convert others. And so mission brings in the connotations of domination and subjugation. And in the next 3-4 centuries, it would be tied to the idea of civilization, right? With the Europeans being at the center of this, really believing that God has given them the mandate to civilize and Christianize the world. Right? Now, in Africa, for example, that belief that we can civilize and Christianize the world requires colonization. That you can't really civilize and Christianize these people without dominating them. Which brings back the old notions of mission as domination from mission as conquest. And so for the past 200 years, a great deal of missionary work has deeply involved this idea of civilizing people. And to civilize well, you have to colonize, so to speak. To the extent that for many Africans, we can tell the difference between mission and colonialism. Those two things worked closely hand in hand. Now, when I talk about decolonizing mission, basically what I'm saying is, can we do what Jesus did with his disciples? Which was, when he says, go and make disciples for me in all nations, he's sending a colonized people, the Galileans, living under Roman oppression. He does not move them from Jerusalem to Rome so they can have imperial power. He sends them as a colonized people, as a marginalized people, to go and share the good news. That allows all of us, everyone, even the poor, even the ones who don't have empires backing them up, to go and make disciples for Christ. Simple. Now, the challenge that we face today is that even for us, Africans, some Asians, some Latin Americans, when we think about mission, what comes to mind is what the Europeans did in our countries, which is mission with civilization, which is mission with colonization. Now, if we are going to be the people who carry the gospel to the rest of the world in this generation, in this century, we cannot do what the British did. We don't have the empire backing us. We cannot do what the Americans do. We don't have the American dollar backing us. Right? We do not even have mission agencies the way Western mission agencies operate. Our missionary movement, the African missionary movement, is a movement that's built around Christian migration. It's Christians moving from one place to another. They don't need a mission agency. Their church needs to recognize that they are going and possibly bless them. And once they settle down where they're going, maybe send them a pastor. But it's normal people, normal Christians moving up and down the world and having the confidence to share the good news of Jesus wherever they go. Up until we get to recognize that is what God is doing in the world today, we will be stuck. When you look at mission statistics today, a very, very good, very simple example. When you look at mission statistics today, yes, we know that the US sends the most missionaries, followed by South Korea and then Brazil. And maybe somewhere there you'll find Nigeria, right? And then you find, and when you look at the numbers, you realize that actually, even if we look at the UK alone, there are thousands of Nigerian pastors working in the UK today. They will be preaching on the streets. They'll be doing everything that missionaries do, but they will never be counted as part of the mission movement because they're not registered with a mission agency, because they've come from the other side of the world, so to speak. And so when I argue for decolonizing mission, I'm saying God is on the move with many Christians from different parts of the world on the move. Can we recognize that God can use them to bear witness?
Yeah.
Jesus did not start something like the Nazareth Missionary Association or the Capernaum or Galilee Mission Agency. He just sent people in a world where migration was a normal part of life.
Mm.
I mean, there are people who argue that actually when Jesus says go and make disciples, actually what he's saying is as you go, because he knows that these people, chances are they will be migrating.
Yeah.
It was life in the Roman Empire. People migrated from different parts at different times without problems.
Wow.
Jesus is tapping into this, is tapping into the fact that migration is normal. The church itself, I mean, whether it's Cyprus, Antioch, or even if we follow Paul's journeys into Europe, it's taking advantage of migration.
Uh-huh.
It's taking advantage of the presence of the Jewish diaspora. Right? And God is again dispersing the African churches, dispersing the Latin American churches, dispersing the South Korean churches. I mean, the many Brazilians that have shown up in the UK or in Europe in the past few years, coming to be missionaries. Right? They're not coming because they've been sent by a mission agency. They've been sent by their church, or they've come for other things, but they know that those other things are to make a way for them to be missionaries in Europe. That is what decolonized mission will look like.
Wow. Dr. Harvey, there's so much to further discuss here. I do want to, because you mentioned mission agencies. Of course, I'm here in Texas, in the West. My wife and I have with God's calling on our lives, have started a nonprofit, Sowing Seeds of Joy.
Yes.
So that being said, and we're probably going to have you back here, but here's the question. If you were advising mission organizations today,
Sure,
including groups like Sowing Seeds of Joy,
yes,
what would you say we must do to remain faithful and relevant in the next 20 years?
good question. I think one of the key things that we need to pay attention as mission. I work for a mission agency myself here in the UK, so I'm not bashing mission agencies. I think they have a place to play in this current landscape. When I talk to mission agencies here in the UK, I will always first repeat the message about the fact that God is already on the move. With all these Christian migrants moving from one place to another.
Mm-hmm.
Can we find ways to work with them, to equip them wherever they're going, so that they can actually be bearers of the good news? I think this is critical. How do we work with God in this age of migration? We know there was a Pew Research report that came out in August 2024 that said that 47% of all international migrants are Christians. 47% of all international migrants. That's almost 50%. That's a very large number of Christians on the move. If we could find ways to resource them as they go, to train them, to equip them, to create space so they can contribute as they go, to train our churches and our agencies to receive the gifts of these Christians who are coming from other parts of the world, I think that would be a good place to start. Second, the we need to, and probably this is a wider theological conversation. We need to be ready to learn from others from around the world, so we can have an understanding of what God can do in contexts that are different from ours. I do believe that we only really see God through the eyes of another. And that is to say, we have a better understanding of who God is or what God can do in community with others. On our own, we only understand a little. Here a little, there a little. It is when we talk to others and work with others who have experienced God differently that we begin to understand, oh, God can do this. Oh, God is like that. Oh, God can also do that. And our understanding of God becomes enriched. Right? So how do we create spaces? How do we... historically, we know that Westerners love to teach.
Yes.
That they go around the world with answers to questions that haven't been asked yet. They go ready to answer questions they don't even know yet, right? They are ready. But can we, especially as Western agencies, as Western Christians, just pause a little and learn of what God is doing around the world?
Yeah, and listen, yes.
Right? Yes, just listen, just learn, engage it. It enriches us. Right. So I think that's important. One of the things that we wrestle with here in the UK could be something as well connected to the US, is that a great deal of what we call mission are issues that can be solved by money. And there's need for a school in Malawi. That becomes our mission. Let's collect funds and send to Malawi so a school can be built in Malawi. Yes, it's important. We need to do those things. But if all we think about mission can be solved by money, we are missing the point.
Yes. Okay.
Right? Jesus sent those disciples. Matthew 28. By Acts 3, they are looking at a leper and saying, "Servant God, we don't have."
Yeah.
He didn't give them money.
He said,
right?
"Don't take
but
it."
He sent them on a mission.
Exactly. Well, man, I can go on and on and on. I do have to one or two others, and then we'll close in prayer.
Sure.
What would you say? I'm African American. What would you say specifically to the African American believer who feels, and we talked a little bit about this already, who feels disconnected from global missions?
Yeah. You have something unique, something special that only African Americans can bring to the table. That is missing if African Americans don't engage. The story of African Americans, I mean, as I said, I lived in Minnesota for 7 years. I hung out in North Minneapolis. It was like second home. I have experienced the spirituality of African Americans in the United States. I am persuaded that there is something that's missing when the African American Christian community is not engaged in mission. But also, I mean, I could also argue that I think there's some truth in the statement of the missiologist of the past century that said a church cannot really exist without mission.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That if everything we can do can be self-contained in our own congregation or in our own movement without really experiencing God in an engagement with another, there is something that we are also missing. Right? So there has, for us to really say that we're following Christ, we follow Christ on mission. We follow Christ by making disciples for him around the world.
Yeah.
The African American church has resources. It has financial resources. It has theological resources. It has a spiritual heritage. That we really need to make use of this, not just in terms of reconnecting back with the continent, but really connecting with mission, the mission of God around the world today.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. That's a word that needs to go out and will go out. And hopefully this presentation, this podcast will aid in that. As we head to a close, and again, this is Rich. I wanted you to talk a little bit about that book again. I have it on my shelf, From Africa to the Rest. I understand you did a little bit of you added to the forward, if I'm not mistaken on that.
Sure.
But also, the authors. If you could tell us who the authors were, and then just a brief little comment about the book.
Yeah, this is the work of my friends Sam Ngugi, a Kenyan, and Yao Pebi, a Ghanaian. Both of them really passionate men of God, really focused in mission for many years. As you said, I did a recommendation. I think I was allowed to read the book before it was published. They're very close friends. We do work together quite a lot. They highlight something that's important. They highlight the reality of the current situation, that possibly, as I think I mentioned this earlier, but possibly the next missionary movement is going to be the African missionary movement. It's going to be, as I said, the dispersion of the African Christians to the rest of the world.
Wow, yeah.
And that allows them to carry the gospel here in the UK. I didn't mention London. I'll give you an example and then we'll close. I taught at a university here in the Northwest, in Liverpool. I was teaching theology. Most of my white British students did not know any white Christians. If they knew Christians, chances were they were Black or Asian. Right? These are white British students. Ask them, do you know any Christians? No, we don't know any Christians. Right? Or if they know any Christians, it's the Nigerians who rent space in our school hall or something like that. Right? And so this really persuades me that if we counted Christians on the move, African Christians on the move would be probably the leading missionary movement already today. Right? But I know that by the next generation of missionaries, by 2050, even in our statistics here in the UK, we've reached a place where, yes, UK mission agencies need to employ Africans as missionaries because recruiting Europeans for mission is becoming more and more difficult. So by the next generation, there will be a significant number of missionaries around the world coming from the continent of Africa. This is what Yao Pebi and Sam Ngugi discuss in the book. They talk about how we can make sense of that, how we can resource that, how we can mobilize even more for the Africans, how we can train the Africans in the continent even before they have their passports, right? Just begin to talk to them about the possibilities that God will take them out of this land to go and bear witness for Christ in other continents. So it's a book that comes with high recommendations. I love the book. I love Sam. I love Yao.
Wow. Yes. Wow. Well, Dr. Harvey, thank you for sharing your wisdom. This has been rich. We have to do it again. We got to do it again because there were about two or three other questions I didn't get to, but your heart, your pathetic voice is huge today, and I can tell.
Thank you.
I believe your work is shaping how, I know it is, it's shaping how we think. And when I say we, I'm talking about Ron and Star. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
And how we send our teams. All right.
Thank you.
So on behalf of Sowing Seeds of Joy, on behalf of my lovely bride and partner,
Yes.
on behalf of believers who long to understand God's mission more deeply, I want to say thank you. Thank
I
you.
really appreciate that. Thank you so much, sir.
So family, make sure you follow, because they can. How can our listeners follow you, your work?
Yeah, I think the easiest is my Instagram page, which is simply Dr. Harvey Kwiyani on Instagram. But my newsletter, my weekly newsletter, which is on Substack, Global Witness, Global Reimagined, is a place where I put out some thoughts almost every week, and so those two places are the easiest places to find me.
All right.
Sure.
Well, I know how to find me. Just pick up the phone, text.
Yes.
We got a trip headed your way in
Yes.
February, so we will see each other in person. So I'm
Looking
excited.
forward.
Star and I are excited about that. Pastor Dennis Webb will be joining us.
Okay.
His wife.
All right.
So we'll be talking more about that. But again, thank you. So I'm going to ask you to close out us with prayer after I say this.
Sure.
Until next time, talking to our family of listeners here, keep sowing seeds, keep loving the nations, and keep following Jesus wherever he leads us or leads you, because he's leading. Dr. Harvey, can you close us out, please?
God, we're so thankful that you make these moments happen when we can come together and spark the passion for mission in our conversations. I bless you for Pastor Ron. I bless you for Pastor Star. I bless you for Seeds of Joy. I thank you, God, for their heart. I thank you for the work of mission that they are doing. I thank you, God, for the passion, the mission that you have for the world. I pray, God, that you will empower us, you will equip us, and you will guide our steps so that we can follow you where you want us to go. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.